General Jack Keane, thank you so much for joining us. I've been wanting you to come on the show because since the last time we spoke, it's crazy. Now, I think the wars in Israel and Ukraine, they are linked. Before we talk about that, you are just back from a trip to Ukraine. What can you tell us about how the war is going there?
Well, certainly the Ukrainians are very steadfast in attempting to break out from the breakthrough that they've made of the main defensive positions in the southern part of Ukraine. They have penetrated those defensive positions, which was a major undertaking on their part. They used foot infantry to do it, but they've been struggling to create a breakout where they can grab off significant amount of territory. They have another 40 miles or so to go to be able to really make a dent in the Russian defenses and therefore be able to put long-range fires into Crimea where the Russian bases are. That struggle is ongoing. They have not given up. Every single day they're out there attempting to accomplish just what I described, and it's pretty remarkable. They're resolved and steadfast in doing it. They've got the support of their people as well. One note I would make that I brought home from there is they showed me where the Russian logistical infrastructure, all their support systems were. And while there was some in Crimea, the overwhelming majority of them were right across the Russian border. However, the United States and the Europeans, who are providing long-range weapons to the Ukrainians and airplanes to come next year, have told them they cannot use those systems to fire into Russia proper itself. Now, Andrew, that makes no sense if you're at war and your enemy attacked you from their own territory, that you cannot fire back in their territory to destroy the infrastructure which is supporting their offensive campaigns. We've got to stop this kind of nonsense from holding the Ukrainians' arms behind their back and yet telling them to move forward. And I'm going to take this to our government officials and do everything I can back here to have some influence on changing that policy.
I think we'll get to another question of how Israel, in this case, is also being forced to fight with maybe even two hands behind their back. But first, would you say that the war in Ukraine is linked to the war in Israel?
Yeah, absolutely. And here's why. We have four adversaries of the United States and many other countries in the world, and that is China, Russia, Iran, and North Korea. And they are all helping each other. Their common interest and goal is they believe the United States is in decline and it's no longer capable of providing the kind of global leadership that it once did, in concert with other like democracies in the world. And they believe it's time to take advantage of that. The United States was not able, with the Europeans, to deter Russia from going into Ukraine. And no one was able to deter Hamas, green-lighted by Iran, from making this major, horrific, savage attack on the Israelis. And these issues are absolutely linked, because China, Russia, and Iran want to take advantage of the situation as they perceive American global weakness. And that is actually what is taking place here. And the reality is the United States has three geographic areas of the world where we have vital interest: Europe, the Indo-Pacific region, where obviously Australia is, and also the Middle East. War is broken out in two of those areas, and the third area, President Xi is threatening war. That is all connected, and we've got to see it as that, and the world has got to see the danger and how these things are related to each other. I don't have a frame of reference, Andrew, for a similar period except World War II, and this is as dangerous as World War II was.
Well, to this war in Israel, I hope you can ease a fear I've had, General. This war, I think, is so far working out for Hamas, given what its objectives are. It's got more than 200 hostages still, including about 50 citizens of countries other than Israel. Many of those countries, like the US, the UN is saying the same, the European Union is saying the same, telling Israel, you've got to wait. Got to wait before invading Gaza so they can keep negotiating with Hamas to get these hostages out, which Hamas will just string out for however long. There are reports now that Israel's army is frustrated by this delay, which gives Hamas more time to get ready for them. And meanwhile, of course, the media is all about how terrible Israel is for bombing Gaza. How can Israel win from here?
Yeah, I mean, you put your finger on the problem that we have here. The Hamas, while they have taken a hostage from time to time, have never had a major campaign of hostage taking. The country that has done that the most is Iran. And I believe their leadership through the IRGC Quds Force has much to do with the planning and coordination of the Hamas's attack and certainly approving it. The imagination and innovation that was shown in that savage, brutal attack, I think has the fingerprints of Iran all over it, and particularly taking such significant amount of hostages, something that they've been about for 40 years. And the reason is what you stated. They're using those hostages to, one, slow down the Israeli offensive that they know is going to come, and two, hopefully slow down the impact of it. In other words, reduce the scale of it. Meanwhile, Hamas and Iran, which are into the public relations side of this, attempting to galvanize international support to condemn and blame Israel for all that has taken place here. Even the Secretary General of the UN did that today, which is absolutely outrageous and a false, bold lie. That is just not true. Hamas is savage, brutally destroyed and killed innocent women, children, older people. They killed more civilians than they did soldiers in their attack, and the way they did it was horrific. This has nothing to do with Israel being responsible for this, but Hamas has twisted that, and so have the Iranians, and convincing people that they need assistance. So yes, this is a ploy on their part to gain world support and slow down this attack that the Israelis are doing. And as you pointed out, it's working.
I find it so sobering. I find it so alarming. Finally, General Keane, the US is right to worry that this is going to could spread. As you say, be facing World War III. Meanwhile, there have been, in fact, 13 attacks on US bases in Iraq and Syria in just the past week. These are attacks by drones and rockets from terrorist groups apparently funded and directed by Iran. How serious is this? What's the game here?
Yeah, this is really stunning. First of all, I applaud the President of the United States for the speech that he gave last Thursday in connecting Ukraine and Israel and what has taken place here and throwing his support 100% behind Israel. Commend him for that. But he refused to use the word Iran. When Iran is in charge of these proxies and coordinating and approving these acts. And that is shameful in not doing that. Furthermore, as you just pointed out, since October the 7th, the Iranian proxies have attacked 10 times into Iraq at U.S. bases and 3 times into Syria. And we've got a couple of dozen wounded soldiers as a result of that. Fortunately, none of them critical and no loss of life. And the only thing that we have done is defended against the drones or defended against a missile attack. We have not taken a single action against the Iranian proxies to take away the capability that they're using to do this. In other words, to deter them from future attacks, destroy their missiles, destroy the drones, take down their command and control structure, take down their logistical infrastructure. We know where this is, and we have the capability to do that, but we are hands off. And it makes no sense at all, Andrew. And for our audience to understand, since the Biden administration came into power, there have been 96 attacks against U.S. personnel in bases in Iraq and Syria, and we have only responded and defended a half a dozen times or so. We have never, ever taken offensive action against them to prevent future attacks. And I've been talking about this publicly in the United States, hopefully with others, to get the administration's attention here, but more importantly, the American people's attention. It's their sons and daughters out there who are being fired upon, and we're not preventing future attacks. We're just defending the attacks that are taking place.
General Keane, you've warned us for some time America's projecting weakness at a time when there's greater challenges than we have seen since World War II. Frightening days. Thank you so much indeed for your time, for your analysis, General Jack Keane.
It was great talking to you, Andrew, as always.